Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, hello again and welcome back to the fabulous Shake Them Ropes podcast. My name is Chris Novembrino. Jeff Hawkins is off this week. Real quickly, before I say a few words about Jeff here, before we begin our show, I want to introduce my guest this week on the show, a friend of mine out here in my journeys out in Albuquerque, New Mexico. He is a general manager at a local brewery that I frequent now, where I get my coffee and hot chocolates at. His name is Desi, and I discovered what was it, about like 2 months ago? Which pay-per-view were we watching? Royal Rumble. I discovered
Rumble.
Yeah, I discovered
January.
Rumble. You're like really into wrestling. I was like, oh shit, like 'cause we have seen each other, informally, just as neighborhood acquaintances for the better part of a year, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, this guy likes wrestling. And then, like, throughout the course of that pay-per-view, we were like laughing our asses off. I'm like, oh, this guy really likes wrestling. This is fun. Uh, and I appreciated CJ later said to me, he's like, yeah, I just figured I wouldn't introduce anybody and you'd all just figure it out. And you did. It was great.
CJ made it work.
Yeah, totally. The man's a diplomat. Nothing if not a diplomat extraordinaire. All right, Desi, tell me a little bit about your history with wrestling. Like, how did you get into it as a kid? That sort of thing.
All right. Wrestling goes way back with my family. I grew up a huge wrestling fan. My grandmother was a huge wrestling fan on my mom's side.
What'd she like to watch?
It was actually quite interesting because my dad's side of the family, including my father, can't stand stuff. Thinks it's mindless, nothing product. My mom's side of the family loved it. They would go to wrestling shows in the local territory era. They saw the Funks wrestle here locally. You had all those, anybody who wrestled down in the Sportatorium probably came up through Albuquerque
Right,
at least once or twice.
Yeah, right, totally. This would be the circuit.
Exactly. So they saw all those guys come through, and so I grew up a huge wrestling fan. This was a heavy WCW house. Just
correct.
because
The correct brand. The correct brand. I was also a WCW person. The true winner of the feud.
And I mean, that will come into play in this episode.
Yeah, it
as
will.
to what we have chosen to watch.
Absolutely. Okay. Before we get into that, real quickly, before I move on to Jeff, favorite wrestler growing up?
Favorite wrestler growing up? That is tough. Growing up, probably when I was like a kid. I mean, throughout Eddie Guerrero. It's hard to not say Eddie Guerrero.
Yeah, I mean, especially as a WCW person, like you got to really watch Eddie become Eddie.
Exactly.
When he did that first big heel turn, where he had like the cool like Santana like music or whatever that he was coming out to. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean the as a Hispanic, like he's from El Paso, like it's hard not to say Eddie. Like in my like later at the post WCW era, I did love Randy Orton in my like late childhood, early teens. But yeah, Eddie growing up is probably the fair take.
Totally. Who are you into these days?
These days, just an absolute mark. I'm still on the bandwagon. I'm still with the bloodline. Love me some Roman Reigns. As far as, let's see who else in the modern product. What Gunther is doing is fantastic work. I did not expect him to be able to cut promos the way he does. He just controls the camera and the ring with authority. Love Gunther. If we're looking outside of WWE specifically, Kenny Omega will always put on phenomenal matches. I remember the first time I watched Omega Okada 2, yeah, 2, the time limit draw. Um, I was about 20 minutes in, and I'm like, this pace has been insane. I'm like, how long have they been wrestling it like this for? And it's like 20 minutes. You are only a third of the way through the match, and they have maintained pace this long. Some of the best storytelling in the ring ever.
Absolutely. I'll give a shout out again to my boy Ilya Dragunov, who I think just continues to be like a top level champion here. We're not
Ilya Dragunov, his biggest issue, hopefully, in the post McMahon era, this is no longer a huge issue in WWE. But I always thought his size was going to be an issue. But the stuff he does with big guys is crazy.
The stuff he does with big guys is crazy, and the characterization rebrand that he's been going through over the last like 6 to 8 months as in this championship run in NXT has I didn't realize he was this good of a promo, but beyond that, I didn't realize he was this good of an actor. Like he really understands like the full character in a way that I found very refreshing. Cool, man. All right, real quickly, I want to say a few words about Jeff. Jeff's story is Jeff's to tell, and when he gets back and at his own pace, Jeff's gonna tell that story. And don't worry, Jeff's okay. But yeah, no, I'm not going to tread on territory that is not mine to tread on. What I want to say real quickly about Jeff Hawkins is that boy, there have been a number of times I've been done wrestling podcasting, and the person who talks me off of the ledge every single time is Jeff Hawkins. It's no one else. No offense to any of y'all, but like y'all have never been able to get me off the ledge. It's been Jeff every single time. And there have been times where I was kind of done podcasting and that sort of stuff, and I was done with voices and done stipulation, my ill-fated TNA podcast, and then I had done Lucha the Hidden Temple, my let's call it successful Lucha Underground podcast. It managed to get under Vampiro's skin. I'll tell you about that later. Yeah. I've got a Vampiro story I'll tell you about.
I actually weirdly also have a Vampiro story that we can dive into.
Yeah, we could circle back around here real quickly. But after I had done both of those, I was more or less done with voices, and then Rob finished off hosting Shake Them Ropes, and Jeff needed a co-host, and he picked me. And there are a lot of other people he could have picked. He does stuffs on other networks, and he picked me, the guy who says stuffs. And basically, I'm always thankful for him. He is patient with me on weeks where I do not deserve his patience. I mean, I still come here and do the show every single week, and sometimes I'm in a shit mood and he has to bear the brunt of that, and I rally for the show, and then I go back to being in a shit mood. And the guy is he can be a lot of different things, but what he is above everything else is just a fantastic guy. And you're all very lucky to have him every week, because he is the actual heartbeat of the show. I'm sure everyone's long since figured that out, especially after I, more or less retired from doing politics podcasting and stuff, and I just seem to be here on a lark at this point. He is the heartbeat of this show. He's the guy who puts together the news segments. I do all of the funny jokes and stuff, and I get to basically have the easy job of being funny and landing the punchlines, because Jeff does all the hard work of setting stuff up, or sometimes being the straight man, or sometimes walking into my jokes. But all of these things are because he's the backbone of the show. So the best tribute I could think of for him this week was to actually, try doing a somewhat legitimate show here, where I actually host and I behave myself and I don't make a bajillion fart jokes, and we go through a piece of serious wrestling cinema, the likes of which we have not seen in nearly a decade, because Survivor Series 2014 is the topic du jour on the show this week. Desi, why are we watching Survivor Series 2014? Why did I watch this show? What happened?
Um, all right. Let's spoil the ending right off the top.
Oh God, yeah.
Spoiler warning for
Spoiler
anyone
alerts.
who hasn't caught Survivor Series 2014, a decade-old program. Spoiler alert. With AEW Revolution in the rearview mirror and Sting wrapping up a iconic career, Hall of Fame career, we have decided to look back upon Survivor Series 2014, which is the debut of Sting, the icon Sting in WWE.
And this is also a bit of a moment in time for me, because at this point I was smack dab in the middle of captioning WWE. I believe this might have been, I think this would have been year one. Like, I had started doing it in 2013. I got to caption Raw and that stuff. I captioned the Undertaker's comeback that year going into which is, by the way, captioning the Undertaker's the easiest segment in television. Because he walks out, you put up the music note, and then you just keep the music note up for a very long time, because it's just da 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 da, and commentary doesn't even say anything because it's the Undertaker and it's sacred, you know. And so that goes on for like 3 minutes, and you just got the music note up there. So you're batting 100% with 100% word capture for 3 minutes, which is like, like breaking your score when it comes to captioning. And then even when he starts doing the promo, slowest promo in the world, because he is going to say things methodically. Like, and you can just sit there and type it out if you want to. No, Undertaker was really easy. So this is like back smack dab in the heart of when I was captioning WWE. We actually saw in this pay-per-view a teaser for the upcoming McMahon and Stone Cold Steve Austin commentary thing. I captioned that live. And I was on that
Live after Raw.
It was live after Raw. So the way that works, for those of you who are interested, because I have never actually at length talked about what captioning WWE is like, but now I also realize, as we are doing this, that my time doing this, is started 10 years ago and went on for 4 years. So, like, I've got enough distance on this that I can talk about some of this stuff. So what ends up happening is you call in and you check in, do all your connections with WWE Network, which just launched at that time too. Like, I was there during the launching and doing all the captioning tests for all that shit too. You call in, you check in, then you're just hanging, and I'd just be sitting there watching Raw on a TV and just waiting for Raw to end. And then you hear the little piano chords, like the boom, 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 like that Then Now Forever little hit. And then it comes up into the Stone Cold Steve Austin podcast. McMahon going long on that show, completely unplanned, and it caused a total panic for like all of us on broad. Like, I was literally getting texted by Jim. And look, because I captioned it, like, McMahon literally said, like, "It's my damn network, I'm gonna go long," or "I own this damn network," and that his phrase, literally, because it's voice to text, like the microphone I'm holding right now. I actually used one of these back in the day, and I literally said that phrase. It's like, ah, shit, we're going long, aren't we? And yeah, of course we were. And yeah, we ended up having to like redo the captions later because it screwed up all the timing on how stuff was going to lay on the network. Because of course, it's not like you're not going to put the Vince McMahon podcast on the network in a regular play, but he gave them an irregular length to work with. Because yeah, I know. Like
McMahon.
just total Vince stuff. So yeah, we are very very deep in the era of this. We also had I excited about this. I'm sad we missed it. Larry the Cable Guy was going to be on Raw on the upcoming episode.
Oh, the guest host era of Raw. Pain.
Everything about this era, though, I went without Daniel Bryan on this program. This era is just brutal in terms of characters, in terms of work, in terms of commentary. I mean,
I was wondering if we were going to touch on the stellar commentary crew that was this pay-per-view.
Yes, let's start there. We'll start there. So I think it's easy to dunk on Michael Cole back in this era, but he did the Beast in the East pay-per-view with Brock Lesnar, and he absolutely slapped on commentary in that. So it's not like he didn't have chops in this era. Michael Cole is so clearly weighed down by Jerry Lawler and JBL, who are just two different degrees of effing useless. And like King realizes sometimes that JBL's useless, and so King actually tries to say things like, "Oh, that was a DDT." But like JBL, all he's got is I love it.
I mean, you knew it was going to be fantastic when they cut to the commentary team, and you have two men in suits and one in a WWE logo T-shirt.
Oh yeah,
you know King's about to mail that in.
and again, he was bad. Like when Jerry goes, do they have what are cordless phones? And Michael Cole and JBL are like, do they? He goes, do they still have? Yeah, do they still have cordless phones? And he's like, yeah, they're called cell phones, Jerry. Like that's brutal.
That one definitely drove me to a screeching halt. Like, oh my, the pairing just doesn't work.
JBL,
they're kind of fumbling over each other at times.
King, at least, especially like neutral flavor King, like Vanilla King, he's completely passable. He's nothing special, but like he's never wildly offensively bad. JBL sucks. He's got the same problems that Booker T does now. And Booker T did then as well, where it's like,
I love Booker T because Booker T will just say the most off the walls. Do we curse in this podcast?
Or? Yeah, we do. Yeah, it's my.
TV,
yeah.
it's
my. Yeah, no, like okay, so like normally when Jeff's here, it's supposed to be PG, but like he's not here, and the idea that I'm gonna keep that shit together, like we're not doing that. So sorry to the kids. No, we can curse. Sorry to the kids.
But Booker T says the most off the wall shit that I can't help but laugh. He's keeping me entertained. Whether or not he's doing his job correctly to get me entertained is a different story, but he is keeping me actively entertained. When it's JBL, I'm just like it's a countdown. There was a sign, a 3-person sign in this show that told the entire story. The sign read, first sign, haha. Second sign, I love it. And third sign, Mago.
Yeah. No, I love it. I realize better. Haha, I love it is when he has absolutely nothing to say. That's what he says. That is just his. It is his. It's the equivalent of like the young man going word to everything. Like he doesn't actually have a word to put in there, so he's literally just saying word. Like yeah, that is what. Haha. Right. I love it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. That is fair. And I mean, I suppose to his credit, that does take up more time than just saying yes.
It would be so much funnier if like Michael Cole would do a call and JBL would just respond with word. Word.
Oh man.
But yeah, that's essentially like Michael Cole has nothing to work off of here. They don't JBL in revisiting him. He is a bad heel commentator because he does not do his job often enough of giving like the incredulous, like ridiculous position for the, straight man to react off of. He gets so distracted, like, I don't know what these matadors are doing, but I love the bullfighters. He doesn't even say matadores because like that's too much. It's too much for him. I love the bullfighters and the little gorilla. I'm like, no, don't, for any number of reasons. This is a bad place to take it, JPL.
Uh,
I did
but
enjoy,
actually,
I did enjoy Who's Under the Mask, RVD. Did you
I
catch
remember which
that
one.
line where
Uh,
like JBL kept saying like he thought Rob Van Dam might be under the mask of one of the
I did
bullfights?
not. I did not catch that side comment.
But yeah, like they're basically useless. And I mean we can, before we even get into the matches proper, this show is really, really, really built around the men's Survivor Series match. To wit, we open up the show with a John Cena promo, and a Triple H promo. We have backstage rally speeches.
Hold on. We opened the show with no chance.
That is true. Vince comes out.
Because of course, in this era, Vince is the center of attention, even though kayfabe wise, he's not even in control of the company. That's the entire point of this event, is that the authority is Triple H and Stephanie. And he still shoehorns himself in.
And really begs the question, what is the actual extant power dynamic at the beginning of the night? Because it's McMahon's company, right? And at no point do you get the impression during this promo that there has been a usurpation. And I mean, I remember I lived through this. I watched and worked it. Like they never did a Triple H and Stephanie took the power from Vince angle. And so when you revisit this now, the obvious glaring question is like Vince literally has the power to stop this at any point. Like, were they ever really the authority if Vince has the ability to change anything?
That is hindsight 2020. You are right. It's so undermining to have Vince involved in this storyline at all.
It's profoundly, yeah, right. No, in hindsight, what needed to sort of happen early on is that Triple H and Stephanie take the power from Vince. But absent that, then Vince never can be an on-screen character in this story.
Yeah, because it's like, wait, the authority's in power, but you're in power. You're here. You're right here.
Right.
It's confusing to say the least. Because yeah, he's walking around cackling at their dismay over the fact that their jobs are on the line. Because if Team Cena wins, the authority is no longer in control. But if the authority wins, everyone but Cena gets fired. What a stipulation.
Like, bizarre stipulation. McMahon's presence only flummoxes it more. And he's presented even more. It's not perplexing that he's presented as a babyface. Like, I'm not saying, wow, isn't it crazy he's a babyface when he's got this horrible lawsuit against him now? I think it's more perplexing that he's a babyface when it only further sort of like raises the notion that he has the power to stop this. If he was a heel and he didn't, he just didn't care. You know what I mean? Like he's not like necessarily in it. He's not against Triple H and Stephanie. He's just like, I'm a heel. I do what I want, and my only responsibility is to the company. But like here, he clearly, as you were saying, is reveling in their dissatisfaction with things. He's like clearly on Cena's side. He even hands Cena the microphone.
Exactly. Like it's like, but so he's a face, but he's the one in control and could usurp their power at any given moment without firing the other four members of Team Cena.
Right, which is bad for business, which is the only thing that Vince cares about. He's just there trying to protect his company. Like, why does he want noted wrestling talent Eric Rowan on the open market?
How could he see parting ways with noted wrestling mind, the big guy Ryback,
Big guy Ryback,
not actively in the company?
Oh man. No, this is just a brutal show. I did not watch the pre-show match, the prelim matches. I'm beginning to think the prelim matches might have actually been where the work was on this friggin' show.
I did not watch the kickoff show either. I can imagine Fandango versus
well, no, that's it. This is 8 minutes of in-ring action, not 8 minutes 45 seconds of in-ring action combined between Fandango and Justin Gabriel, 3:15, and Jack Swagger and Cesaro. I forgot about this. We talked about this the other night. This seems like a good match. It goes 5 minutes and 35 seconds, so it's probably like a really good 5:35. That's stupid. Good 5 minutes, and then it's stupid at the end. Yeah, but there's probably a really solid 90 seconds in the middle there.
I will apologize in advance. I might bounce around on some WWE versus post WWE names when it comes to people like Eric Rowan.
I'm still like Dean Ambrose is still weird for me. Like it's weird to go back to Dean Ambrose. I want to call him Moxley, and so it doesn't really matter. I mean, like, look, it took me a long time to get around to Finn Balor. Like, he was Prince Devitt for me for a very long time.
So yeah, I do just want to say, yeah, like there is always the chance that I do misname some of these guys, but I mean, y'all know who I'm talking about.
I'll make sure to loop you in on any of the best Discord chatter about any botched facts. I'm sure they will be understanding and supportive. I've always known them to be these things.
Also, I did get looped into this podcast with about 48 hours notice.
Wow.
Which is more than enough time to get through this fantastic.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's we simplified this down to one show. Nothing will be under the bus here. Yeah. Fantastic show. It opens up. I mean, this is very much a moment in time show in the sense like time capsule show. Like a number of these characters are fairly short-lived iterations of these characters. So like for example, Goldust Stardust as heels. They didn't stay heels for that long. They fairly quickly kind of got turned by them.
If I'm not mistaken, they only last 2 more pay-per-views, I believe. I believe that feud gets blown off at Fastlane 2015. I think it's the pay-per-view after Rumble is the blow off between Goldust and Stardust.
That's right.
So we're already coming to the end of that tag team era and the end of Stardust as a whole.
It's so wild. Yeah.
Like, and honestly, that's kind of a through storyline with this whole pay-per-view, which we'll touch on a lot of that later. But yeah, like you said, a lot of these are more short-lived end of gimmicks because this one would go on for a long time, but I barely recognized the Usos when they came out.
Yes. The Usos, let me tell you, I am a bit of a Jey Uso stan on this cast. I think he's made Mondo improvements. I have made this argument. And boy, going back to 2014 and watching some of their older work, I stand by that 1,000, 1,000,000%. He is such a better wrestler now. Like the don't let anyone ever tell you that the younger Usos were the better Usos. They were not. All they had were those over the rope spots. They had nothing else. They had no offense, they had no personality, they had no attitude.
This show has some high points, and we will touch on high points, but I think one of the overarching problems about this era in wrestling is that everybody's moveset was so simplified.
Yeah.
Everyone was hitting just
They
not
had
even
five
high,
moves. They had
but
the
like
five moves, like the Bret Hart John Cena package. You have your five
yes,
signature moves, and that's what you do.
yeah, and I'll touch on it later in one of the subsequent matches. But yeah, it's true about everybody. One of my favorite matches on this card, probably my favorite match on the card, suffers from the same problem of their movesets being so limited in this era that two very talented wrestlers don't get to really show off their worth.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, it's made me think a little bit different about the plunder too. It's just having such a limited move palette to work with results in you guys, having to use more plunder and that sort of thing. So this match is mostly centered around Damian Mizdow. And this ultimately is going to result in Mizdow winning the tag team championships for him and the Miz. Mizdow is over like Rover at this point. Looking back on Damian Sandow, he is someone I think that WWE in this era just missed on in a massive way. He had such a good and strong fan connection, both as a heel, as the intellectual savior of the masses, and in all of his sort of like goofy comedy role gimmicks after the fact, too.
He was able to tell us everything from Rhodes Scholar to here. We saw a larger growth of Damian Sandow than we did of Cody Rhodes.
That's totally.
Which going into WrestleMania this year is an insane sentence to say, as Cody Rhodes is one of the probably the five best wrestlers in the world right now.
But at this point, and following the breakup of Rhodes Scholar, you weren't so interested in Cody. You wanted to see what Damian Sandow could do.
100%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and I think they missed the mark with him. Like I think he had it. I mean, I'm not saying. Look, I've seen enough of Aaron, what's his name's like work outside, and he's not a great. He's not a world champion type of wrestler, but he is such a good intercontinental champion character wrestler, mid card champion character wrestler. That this guy, I think Aaron Stevens is his name. He is always going to have a place in the business on that front. But yeah, no, at this particular point, his fan connection was just stupid high. People loved him. They wanted Mizdow.
I think nobody confuses themselves when they see somebody that is white hot with the crowd, but they can't picture them as a heavyweight champion. And it's like not everyone needs to hold the big gold belt.
Right.
Like you can easily draw a parallel between Sandow and Elias. Just crowd connection, crowd work. You could easily throw a secondary title on this guy, have him be a chicken shit heel, and
not
make
everybody. Yeah, like not everybody needs to be a champion. I think you nailed it though. McMahon, especially in this era, had this huge problem with this notion of, well, why is this person over if they're not world champion material? And sometimes, like in the case of Daniel Bryan, the answer is, well, they actually are world champion material. You're just effing wrong. And then sometimes, like in the case of Elias, in the case of a Damian Sandow, the answer is it, they're not cheering because they think that this guy can go all the way. They're cheering because they enjoy what he does. It's the same thing with R-Truth. They're not like, oh man, I hope they belt Truth. They just enjoy the work. They enjoy the character, and they're fine with that. It's the way, especially at various points when Goldust has been very over. It's kind of like a bit of a nostalgia act, like even in this vintage here, when he's working as a babyface. People are into Goldust because he's doing great work at this era, but also because they like him. They don't think he should be champion. They just like him. Uh,
Yeah.
Adam Rose is another fine example of like why did people like it? Because they just like the gimmick. Sean Spears when he was Ty Dillinger, Perfect 10. Yep, didn't think that Perfect 10 should be world champion, but they love the gimmick.
I am a little surprised that they would bring him back and not at least seize the opportunity to have him debut at Royal Rumble in that 10 spot.
I mean, they already did the 10 spot with him at least once. They already did that once before.
They did do it once, but that was on the call up from NXT.
That's fair.
The return,
that's true. Returning him as Sean Spears in the 10 spot would be interesting. And having basically no selling it, like that he's the 10th guy, just coming in there and just being the 10th guy. I mean, like that could be interesting.
That would be interesting.
You don't have to hit people over the head with it, as I guess what I'm saying. But yeah, this match was basically like very much set pieces. There was not a lot of moves and wrestling. Goldust, insofar as that happened, it would be like Goldust would be in the match, and the most sort of wrestling that you saw straight up was people putting offense on the Miz and the Miz selling so as to have Sandow on the outside selling.
Yeah, and this match surprised me because I expected with the Usos and with Los Matadores to see a few more high spots. You got a few, but nothing crazy. And for as long as this match ran, I was hoping for a little more, but you didn't really get that indie spot fest that I would have expected with a 12-ish minute match.
15. This is the second longest match on the show.
Oh wow, okay. So 15-minute match. They had a decent amount of room to breathe, and they could have thrown some really fun spots in and kind of just, again, like we discussed earlier, the movesets were so limited that they just didn't really work the match as well as they could have.
Yeah, and McMahon's version, I actually kind of think it really helps me appreciate the super indie style, or like what's the super indie style sort of reacting to. McMahon's vision of like what lucha libre and like high spots are in this era is like a friggin' joke. I was a Lucha Underground guy back then, so like yeah, I knew that, but you have different eyes 10 years later, and you're like looking at this stuff now, and you're like, man, all they ever had was jump off of the middle rope onto a crowd of people. It is the same move it's the same jump into the crowd of people move every single time.
Yeah, I'd hope for more from this match. It wasn't a bad match. It was a fun way to start the pay-per-view, but
yeah,
forgettable in the long run.
Yeah, forgettable in the long run. Speaking of forgettable in the long run, a match that went almost as long, believe it or not, and was nowhere near as enjoyable was our Women's Survivor Series match here, featuring Team Natty versus Team Paige. I will admit that I fast forwarded through the video package that even remotely attempted to explain this and just got to the part where the match sucked, and the match sucked. I will say, Layla still looking cute after all these years. Yeah. Into Layla still.
I mean, this match, Summer Rae can't wrestle. The number of botches that Summer Rae had.
Naomi's really rough too here. Naomi's bad here. Yeah, like
she has no character. You can tell that she's athletic, but has very little direction with it. Like the wrestling was just bad.
Yeah, Cameron's of course bad. I mean, I forget which side we are on of her doing the splits move and then demanding that the ref count the pin, but the wrestler's on her belly. Yeah, count it. There's no pin to count.
Uh, Foxy is Alicia Fox.
Alicia
You
Fox,
can see
Alicia Fox.
you can see their talent, but she's young, super green.
This is towards the end of her runs.
Like it's crazy.
I know.
Like
Yeah,
all
I like Alicia Fox. I always thought there was a character there, and she has personality. They never. I mean, Ken, because Vince's concept of characterization at this point is also massively myopic. Like the Usos had no flavor. Goldust and Stardust just make noises. The Matadors have a bull, and Damien, like
and Miz and Mizdow are just the Miz and his stunt double doing wacky things outside the ring.
Right. Right. Yeah. There's no new character with the Miz. It's the same Miz character that's always been the Miz character, like this.
Yeah. And he's still going today. He's a Hall of Famer, or he will be when he calls it quits. Like, no off. Oh no,
JBL had a comment. There was a dig about how the Miz doesn't work in the middle of that match. I forget what it was. Like oh, that'd be bad. The Miz would have to get back in there and do more work. And like one was like, oh no, I forget what the setup is in that. But yeah, this match stinks. Essentially, we get down to Paige being this match stinks. And oh, by the way, they do another Soul Survivor match. Like the women and the men's matches both go down to this like 1-person versus 3-person dynamic. Only with Paige, it's really stupid. Yeah,
this was an absolute stinker. They clearly knew it was a stinker when you have Team Natty with a clean sweep.
Yeah, yeah.
Like-
They just they knew they had nothing here. Yeah, and Layla and Summer Rae are just cannon fodder. Cameron, obviously. Then we get to what is, I mean, if you want to argue this is the best match on this show, I'm not going to argue against you. Bray Wyatt versus Dean Ambrose here. In a lengthy match that ends in a disqualification. When Dean Ambrose gets disqualified because he hits Bray Wyatt with a chair. And then like goes crazy on Bray Wyatt and then beats up Bray Wyatt for several minutes after this. I like the match.
I would say it's definitely the best match on the card as far as work rate and storytelling. These two guys know what they're doing. And put on a quality 14-minute match.
I didn't think the story was very good in the sense that like you get to this climax in the match where Bray Wyatt's like, Dean, we should, dominate the locker room together. Like we could beat. Like I didn't feel like the climax in the match made a lot of sense or felt particularly earned. You know what I mean?
This match is disappointing because this match is on one of the big 4 pay-per-views. It is the start of what theoretically should be a really interesting upper mid-card feud between two ascendant single superstars who have just broken off from their factions. Like, you have everything right there at your feet. And it ends in a DQ that all it does is build to TLC. It's a pro for TLC.
Yeah, it's a promo for TLC. This also gives me a good opportunity here now that we're like somewhere in the middle of the show for me to just talk about how bad the theme songs were in this vintage. It's easy, right? God. Dean Ambrose's theme song sucks, and you will never, ever, ever tell me anything otherwise. Like Bray Wyatt is the only notably good one, and that's because that was written by a band and brought inside. But the CFO was the name of the production company that made all the music for these guys back in, and it's the most uninspired crap.
What's the CFOs? Because those women's entrance themes were terrible.
Those are pre-CFO, and those are also really uninspired crap.
Okay,
Yeah, like
because
I could grab a guitar and even break down like some of these chord changes are so it they're so predictable. The one that I think is the funniest and dumbest is the Luke Harper theme song. That is just like a standard 12 bar blues with somebody just shitting on a slide guitar. Just like yeah. Oh, like these are songs that if you told me, Chris, we need 7 wrestler songs by the end of tomorrow evening, and that's all the time you have. This is what I'd come up with, where I'd be like, no, these chord progressions kind of suck. I'm aware of that. Like, you just told me to get you something, but like, this is not an acceptable like level of work
I,
on
I
these songs.
I didn't even remember that uh Dean Ambrose Moxley had a theme song
So bad.
before, like he had something between the Shield and that like that pseudo Kickstart My Heart theme that he had.
Yeah.
Like I didn't even remember that he had two themes. It's weird, like just how bad some of the entries were at this time. Because like you do have the classics, and honestly, we will get to the women's match, but I do love both Nikki and AJ's theme songs. But yeah, the like anybody who's not in like the title level just gets the most obnoxious MIDI forward music.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. I mean, like, yeah, that very, and I even remember watching a production video at the time. Like they were using MIDI triggered guitars, and they were like talking about like the samples. Like we got really good samples of these guitars. I'm like, just get a fucking guitar player in there with some personality and some balls to help you write some riffs. Stop writing them on a keyboard. Stop it. It doesn't work. You think it does, and you even like lie to yourself and go like, "Well, I know the theory, and I even play a little guitar." Blah, blah, blah. No, you need to be in front of an amp. It's like writing, like trying to write like a solo piece for the cello sitting in front of a piano. Like that's not how you do this. Like you need to be writing it on the instrument. No, the music's terrible in this era. Like yeah, you're right. Like AJ Lee's theme song is one that it's a very catchy chorus that just loops over and over again. But it is very catchy. I will grant that. And Nikki Bella's got like a full verse and chorus. Like that is a song that actually has like an intro, a verse, a chorus. Like there's an actual song structure in Nikki Bella's song. Uh,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
yeah, like and trying to think who else. Mark Henry, of course, he's before this, so of course Mark Henry's got a banger theme.
yeah,
And
but
then
yeah, like I
like
agree. The
everyone
music,
everyone else's music is just like I mean, I guess you might like Dolph Ziggler, but he's again kind of a pre this era sort of thing. But like Eric Rowan's theme song, if you remember Eric Rowan's theme song, it's actually hilarious. It's got like banjos and stuff, and it's all like weird and dark. It's actually kind of cool, but there's like a kid's xylophone and like banjos and stuff, and like it's weird and moody and it's bad, but like it's kind of weirdly good.
yeah, like I said, the ones that really stood out to me were just how bad, like again, Cameron and
Cameron,
Summer Rae and Layla's, and it's like all the forgettable people's theme songs were going back on those terrible. And it's like, well, you set them up for failure with terrible theme music.
I still think it's amazing Seth Rollins managed to survive like that first initial theme song that they gave him, which to me just remains. It sounds. I know what blast beats are. Please don't anyone try to explain to me what blast beats are. But like the way that song is produced, it just sounds like noise for the first like 10 seconds before it ever gets into the like the little main riff. And that main riff is completely not hummable. It's just kind of like the guitar is completely buried into the drum sound or whatever. All these, like, everybody's got very bad themes, but I feel like we've said enough on that topic. Next we have another short-lived gimmick here. Adam Rose as a doucher, as the lemon, with the bunny, being a party pooper on the bunny, who, like, I don't know, the bunny's kind of a dick, right? Like, I mean, Adam Rose is a dick, but like the bunny's kind of a dick too, isn't he?
I would agree the bunny's kind of a dick. Like Adam Rose is being a dick, but he's being a dick because the bunny keeps upstaging him at his own party.
Right.
Like somebody walks into your birthday party and is like, but have you seen this? And like totally upstages you. I can see where Adam Rose would get a little frustrated. Like, wow, bro, you got to do that again?
Right? I mean, if you were so cool, the bunny, why don't we have the bunny party? Why isn't it Adam Bunny and, you know, the Rose bunnies?
Actually, going back to the audience, somebody had a unnecessarily robust pro Adam Rose sign featuring two very large printouts of the Pokemon Badoo on either side. And I was like, this is you've chosen a Route 1 grass type Pokemon. See your Bellsprouts for those of us who are 30 years old and only played the original games. In your niche interests of wrestling, you have overlapped in a very fascinating way, and I appreciate you for it.
I know.
And also the fact that you are that over on Adam Rose, that this is the man you have chosen to bring a sign for.
He stunk. He was only ever good as Leo Kruger. And the work was never amazing. He was somewhat good as the Leo Kruger character in terms of work. This was just an entrance. And you know, in terms of the bunny is the third most successful iteration of a bunny gimmick I can think of in the 2010s. Because you had AEW's The Bunny, you had the bunny here, you also had a bunny in Lucha Underground, at one point with the bunny tribe.
And we cannot leave out Peter and her bunny ears in NJPW.
That's true. That's true.
A top 5, if not a top 3 member of the Bullet Club all time.
So, like, this bunny, you know, I think he's got a big head on his shoulders. I don't like that he did the trust fall, stepping on Adam Rose's entrance. I mean, that's Adam Rose's signature entry. Like, this is what I'm saying. I get what the story is here, but the bunny's an asshole. You're coming in here and you're doing, like, if I was a wrestler and I had a signature pose and my tag team partner came in and tried to do my signature pose before I did my signature pose, I think that guy was a jerk.
Yeah, honestly, upon reframing it as the buddy might be the jerk of the party,
right?
Like, you are not incorrect. I mean, this match is terrible.
Oh, it's stupid. This is why I'm parsing this down. I'm just saying, if the buddy comes in there and does the Randy Orton pose, the buddy's turning around and getting an RKO from Orton.
Oh, 100%.
100%. Orton's not abiding that. No way. Not a chance.
Like, maybe they can answer this in the Discord, but did we even get a payoff for the bunny at the end of the day?
No.
Or did Adam Rose get released before then?
Yeah, Adam Rose because he got in trouble for I forget what.
Domestic.
Yeah, it was yeah, that's right, domestic. Yeah. So I think they had to cut him. They had to cut him. And I think, I mean, originally they were going to reveal, I think it was Justin Gabriel, but they also clearly didn't care about Justin Gabriel, you know, like.
I mean, also, I guess shout out Justin Gabriel pulling double duty on this pay-per-view.
Yeah, you know, combined here, he did nearly 6 minutes of in-ring action.
Commendable work.
Commendable work.
That would stack up to what? Almost the 4th longest match on this card.
Yeah, and but yet another one of these matches that trades in a stupid trope. This one being the tag team partner that everybody really wants to see in the match, paired with the heel guy that nobody likes. Um, all the Adam Rose and the Bunny story is just a crappier version of the Damian Mizdow and the Miz story.
Oh, I did not get to touch on the ending of the last match. I did think that the burying of Bray Wyatt underneath a pile of furniture did work well better in this match than it did in just a few short years when Rollins did it in Hell in a Cell.
That is fair. No, like this is like the ending of this was dope. It's just that you knew that this was just a setup for TLC. Like once he climbs the ladder and then doesn't jump off the ladder onto the chairs, which like is the most obvious thing in the world for a Dean Ambrose character.
I kind of, because I love this era of Dean Ambrose because yes, he did only have the limited 5 move set of everybody at this time. But
whoop, clothesline. Yeah.
Yep, I always pop for the lunatic lariat. I don't know why, but I did. And I love that he did an elbow drop. It could have been a standing opponent, seated opponent, prone opponent. He did an elbow drop off the top rope to, if he got to the top rope, it was elbow drop time. And I found that hilarious that he never did a crossbody, never a drop kick, all elbow drops all the time.
Oh, speaking of crossbodies, just to circle back, at one point, because they're trying to put over Naomi, Naomi does a crossbody, and Michael Cole goes, "That was a tremendous crossbody," and it was far from that.
That was a tremendous. I mean, they had to say something during that match.
They actually didn't. They could have just taken a nap.
We get the King saying sexist shit for 14 minutes. That would have been fine, I guess.
Yeah,
just attitude of puppies all day.
Honest. Oh boy, man, attitude era King or this era JBL. Who are you stuck on a desert island with?
Dude, absolute nightmare blunt rotation.
Right? Yeah, no, it's a nightmare blunt rotation.
Give me mailing it in. Mailing it in Taz on Impact Wrestling, and you know what?
Taz is amazing. I love mailing it in Taz. He is a guilty pleasure of mine.
But yeah, that's just your nightmare blunt rotation for bad commentary, bad color commentary.
And then I'm stalling a little bit here because really all we have left is the main event. Next, we have AJ Lee. And she loses the title in 33 seconds to Nikki and Brie Bella after they do a revisitation of the infamous AJ Lee cost Daniel Bryan the title spot from years back.
I have a lot of thoughts on this match for it being 33 seconds long.
Hit me, daddy.
All right. First off, I forgot about the Brie Bella being Nikki Bella's assistant storyline. You had to turn the title somehow because we needed the Brie versus Nikki storyline to have some brand payoff. So unfortunately, AJ was losing the entire way. How long did AJ stay in the company after this?
I don't feel like it was that much longer.
Like, we have got to be coming up on it.
And I'll even grant them, given that this is building to a Nikki and Brie storyline, it makes narrative sense why Brie would be happy that Nikki won the title. It's not for the same reason that Nikki's happy. It's because Brie's like, I'm going to take that belt off of you.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it makes sense.
Like
sort of
storyline. I was less mad at it than I was expecting to be. But why would they give these two legitimately talented wrestlers on their roster in a very thin women's division?
Yeah, at this point, this is good. Winding the camera or winding the clock back. At this point, AJ Lee and Nikki Bella are two of the strongest performers that they have. Like Nikki is Nikki's a top level talent in terms of their women's division at this point, which is still the
Oh yeah, Nikki might be legitimately the best wrestler in the Divas division at this time.
yeah, she's probably a hair above AJ at this point.
It kind of depends on where you put Natty.
No, no, Natty's not. Natty's not. Even
Okay,
even in this vintage, Natty wasn't that good.
and I mean Paige was still just super young. Like,
and has it ever really fully landed with Paige? Paige has had some good matches, but it's like it never was connecting kind of consistently or whatever. It's like
yeah,
her best stuff was in NXT, as far as I'm concerned.
I mean, not to get too far off topic, but the following NXT, I believe, had Sasha Banks versus Charlotte.
Yeah.
Like, if we want to talk about where the women's division would go after the Divas division, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. No, no, no. And yeah, Paige is definitely the forgotten son, or forgotten daughter among that pack. And Emma too. I felt like Emma got it.
We did overshadow Emma. I Emma, that whole arms gimmick, I thought it was hilarious. I was always an Emma fan. Emma did grow into a decent wrestler as well.
Oh no, she became a good wrestler. Like when she got the attitude injection, she showed that like she can do that kind of like more stiff thing. Like I dude, I like heel Emma. Heel Emma's good.
Heel Emma was good. I liked her work in Impact Wrestling. Uh, yeah, I think Emma gets overlooked a lot in this era, but Emma was a decent hand. Like, she could put on a competent match, and I think
Oh,
could have made it.
on this roster, she's nothing less than like the lower A tier, B tier. You know what I mean? Like, who is? We are getting a little sidebar, but like Emma's better than Brie. Emma's better than Layla. Emma's better than Summer Rae. Emma's better than Cameron. She's better than Naomi. She's better than. I mean, on this roster right now, Emma might be like top 5, top 6.
In the division we were presented, yeah, probably.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, realistically, you should no. So I don't.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I wish we would have gotten more time for this match, but storyline wise, it actually wasn't the worst ending in the world. But walking into it blind, only seeing 33 seconds on the Wikipedia page, I figured I was about to be pretty mad about how the match turned out.
No, I'm kind of with you. It's a dumb story. Like, okay, like for this era, it's actually a smarter storyline than they typically kind of came up with. Like, like this is an interesting twist that makes some sense.
Bria's personal assistant ugh,
No,
was
but like,
actually long-term storytelling.
yeah, no, it was long term storytelling. AJ Lee made her own bed when she decided like that she like didn't care about what was going on between Nikki and Brie. Like, and because AJ took this tact of I don't even care about that, she failed to consider what the dynamic is that's actually at play there. That was the Chekhov's gun and the fatal decision, like our hero's fatal mistake right there. She
Mhm.
goes, oh, I don't care that you two are fighting. I don't even need to know what it's about. Actually, you probably should know what it's about. That information might be pertinent to you. You might want to know what's going on there. Yeah, I hate to say it, but for this era, it's long-term booking. It's actually halfway clever.
Yes, like it's one of those situations where this actually could have been a decent match, but in this era, this was their best attempt at long-term booking, and
Yeah.
it worked for the most part.
I would have done this on a Raw rather than do it as your sub main event on your fourth biggest show of the year. Like so the placement's stupid. I would have had this be a big spot on the Raw after Survivor Series or something like that, rather than have this be like the sub main event. But that is going to get us to our main event, and oh my god, this the booking on this piece of shit. Like I need to start here. I need to start here. I almost can't do this conversation waiting for it. So I have to begin here. The Big Show's fucking heel turn makes no sense. No sense at all. Why would you have him wait to the middle of the match?
Hold on, because actually it's a great place to start because this puts us at the start of the match. Why would you have him eliminate
Right.
Mark Henry
Right.
in like 10 seconds only for him to turn heel?
Only for what and when you have him turn heel, he doesn't even join your ranks. He just leaves. He outs himself from the match.
He's doing what's best for his family, Michael.
Well, this is yeah, I know that's from the event, and I believe this leads me to one of my favorite Big Show storylines, which is that the Big Show made a series of bad investments. It is, and that's why he did this. Like there was like a water park or some shit. They actually name what the things are that he invested in, but yeah, like the reason he sells out this time is because he made bad investments.
I mean, the at this point memeable Big Show heel turn face turn is so fantastical that the fact that they at least justify this one as a series of bad investments, which is why he has to become part of the Authority. It jumped the shark so long ago that I'm here for it.
Yeah, like okay, I need this real quickly. Like Big Show bad investments. Heel turn. So yeah, no, he knocks out Mark Henry real quickly. The idea, okay. WWE has turned Triple H, or Triple H has turned Big Show into a cartoon villain. Triple H buys Big Show's house from the mortgage company. The mortgage company.
That is God. So he knocks out Mark Henry. And like, I do Triple H getting so incensed during this match and just like losing his mind on the outside is so legitimately funny. Like, he involves himself in the match, like only to not involve himself in the match so many times.
Well, okay, so then going back to the Deus ex McMahon that was at the beginning of the show here, like, why is Triple H allowed to knock out all these effing refs if it's Vince's company?
Because he's the COO.
Yeah,
All right, we need to get there first. We need to get to the referees.
Yeah, right. No, I know. So Big Show knocks out Mark Henry. Mark Henry gets wrecked. Then we get to kind of the Kane, Luke Harper, and who's the third guy?
So the big guy comes in and kind of wrecks house a little bit. I think Kane eliminates him to even the odds.
That's right. No. Kane does eliminate him after Seth Rollins hits a curb stop on Kane. Yeah. Seth comes in. I mean, we really protect the baby faces here. Like, we're not trying to take out Ryback in any meaningful way. Like, he basically gets we get like a big spill in of everybody. And that culminates in Kane ultimately getting the pinfall on Ryback. So then the match
the booking in this match outside of the Big Show heel turn they actually do a really good job protecting everybody.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
for sure.
Seth Rollins,
Rusev in particular.
Seth Rollins looks very smart throughout the match, hitting opportunistic finishers on people to get eliminations. Uh, Protecting Rusev by having him get counted out upon doing a big splash
At Triple
through a
H's
table.
command.
Exactly. So like again, this match could have been worse. It could have been absolutely bollocks. It could have been so dumb.
Yeah, it's
But
true. But like, I mean,
outside
every moment
of
Kane's in the match is basically just dead air at this point. This version of Kane is just a tall guy.
he is in killer shape. I will give him that. But he is also a 47-year-old man at this time. He is nearly 50. He is not putting on his best work. He looks terrible doing it. He moves slowly. Kane drags this match down actively.
Yeah, it's him as this like corporate guy. He no longer even really does like the choke slams or anything. It's just like generic the low level offense that you get on the video game for the heel, like clubbing blow 1, clubbing blow 2.
He goes for a big boot at one point, but can't lift his leg up far enough in the slacks and just kind of kicks. Who was it? Maybe it was Ryback. He kicks someone just in the gut, and they like try to sell it as really impactful, but it's like it looks so clunky. It was a terrible botch.
Yeah, I mean, he's just unfortunate at this point. Ultimately, I mean, it's really on Luke Harper and Seth Rollins to do sort of the meat of the kind of worky work. With and Rusev does some good stuff, but like clearly the point of Rusev in this match was to have a face to face with Ryback, like that they wanted to get to this Rusev Ryback thing at some point down the line, like the big Haas match.
I mean, and I loved this Rusev gimmick. The hero of the Russian people and the holder of the Russian star medal or whatever it was. It
They do
was
a salute to Vladimir Putin on one of these Raws.
not on one of these Raws. They would drop down a Russian flag and have Vladimir Putin's face on the Tron every time he was in the ring.
Unbelievable.
CJ Perry and her awful Russian accent, which the rumor mill has it that Rusev and Lana might be splitting up.
Oh no. So you're
Lana
saying I
might be.
finally have a chance at Rusev, huh?
We have a fucking chance, boys.
All right, we're getting back in there. Alexander, hit me up. I'm available. All right, so John Cena gets betrayed by the Judas Iscariot that is the Big Show. In a climactic moment where yet again in like okay, Big Show, if you're gonna turn heel, why are you making this so drawn out? He gets John Cena to stand up beside him so that he can deliver the knockout blow.
One of the worst finishers of all time.
So, it actually looked good and makes all the sense in the world at the beginning of the match. The idea that the Big Show could just cold cock someone like Mark Henry actually gets over the idea this guy is like a legitimate threat. But man, if you're going to do that spot at the beginning of a match, the rest of the match, I want the heel team constantly worried about this loaded bomb in this guy's hand. Like every time he's going for one of them, they're like ducking and then like rolling out of the ring. And like, it's Rollins like over there powdering them, getting them back up. Everybody's now completely terrified about the idea that this guy's got a Mack truck sitting at the end of his fist. Like that's got, yeah. But it's got to be consistent. Like, that's the only utility a guy like Big Show has in this sort of match with that, like, knock. And I'm with you. I hate the knockout punch as a premise, but if you're going to go with it affirmatively, That's the only way it's gonna really work.
Mm.
He should have leveled Cena before that, and then like why doesn't he join the other team? Like why can't Dolph Ziggler beat the Big Show? Why not? Like actually, Dolph Ziggler beating the Big Show would have been a great spot, but we don't even get Dolph Ziggler saving the day here. What we do get is Dolph Ziggler surviving a lot of near falls. This is not Ziggler does not dominate this match. Ziggler survives this match, gets a bunch of near falls and the occasional pinfall.
And the the booking of this era is so strange to me because almost nobody hits finishers. For all the near falls you get, it's not booked like you see in the modern era. You're not getting an AEW, everybody's just smashing L1 finisher after finisher, near fall after near fall.
I do kind of like that. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like when Rusev won in the what's now known as the Machka kick, didn't even have a name at that point. I was just like, huh, I like that. It's nice to see stuff like that. I'm okay with that.
Okay, I am always a fan of when people win with their signature with a signature move because it proves that it's like, oh, it is a powerful move. Because yeah, that does make sense. But yeah, like you do get the near fall after near fall with Ziggler, but Ziggler is not winning on like getting zigzags left and right.
No. He's like winning. Yes, like that's the thing with Ziggler is like he's not winning in dominant ways. He's winning, but not dominating in the win. He's just getting the win, and
Yeah,
then we get to the high climax of this match, where it appears Ziggler is poised to defeat Seth Rollins, and then Triple H, non-player character, outside wrestler, like wrestles once a year. Triple H comes,
try himself.
decides to get himself in, and proceeds to obliterate Dolph Ziggler. I mean,
Lands a finisher. Honestly, an absolutely beautiful pedigree.
the pedigree looked great. And the pedigree was pretty damn good because Dolph Ziggler went dead for the next like 2 minutes and 30 seconds. And so did Seth Rollins.
Seth Rollins on the ground for what feels like 15 minutes.
That was the thing that killed me. Is when Sting finally he comes out and Hunter and Sting square off. It's a very long sequence, but that's basically all that happens.
Yeah, I was a little shocked because it's like we don't get the cut to black, we don't get the rafters, we do get a Tron. Like he has new music, new Tron.
But the new music sucks. The new music is like your generic soundtrack to Farscape, sort of like back like it is the sci-fi chords. It's a whole, yeah.
And Chris.
And that Tron is Sting in a room with one light bulb.
Like I was shocked. Like,
he has it over his face. I was watching it. I'm like, they didn't spend very long on any of this shit.
I was shocked though, like, because yeah, it's like, okay, you're getting. Well, I knew we were getting something, but I didn't remember how he debuted. Just debuting on the ramp it seems like a weird choice because now he has to walk all the way down with Triple H just standing there in the middle of the ring. Your two superstars dead on the floor. He comes in, like, just nails Triple H with a Scorpion Death Drop.
Eventually. Like I'm with you. He should have, like, why doesn't he come down from the rafters, land behind Triple H, hit him with the Scorpion Death Drop, go back up into the put Ziggler on Seth Rollins, and then disappear, and the whole thing's like 30 seconds.
It takes so long because then when he puts Ziggler on Seth Rollins, like, am I really supposed to think that Seth Rollins has been just incapacitated for like multiple minutes?
Both of these guys come on. So for all, like, to our earlier point here, for all the work and the thoughtfulness in certain sequences to make sure that Seth Rollins comes off as an opportunist and like comes off as like clever and you know what I mean, like a sneaky snake, a formidable sneaky snake. you get this end sequence where like him and Ziggler are just like two dead bodies left on the screen that you're playing around with and like shooting bullets in at the end. And yeah, like,
And again, for how much we argue that the booking was pretty good outside of the Big Show heel turn. The action was pretty good. The pacing was decent. Then they just play dead for the rest of the match.
yeah, I mean, Sting coming out here is Hunter and Sting are complete momentum killers, and the overbooking of all of this is a momentum killer.
I mean, I can still recall, even a decade later, I popped like an absolute child the second I saw Sting in WWE.
Oh yeah, right. But now
Just
looking back on it, you can see how little love Vince had for this guy. Like that at long last finally getting him, he's like, okay, so fucking what? Like, Vince is more worried about his presence on the show than I think, Sting's presence. And to this point, Sting does not actually end the authority angle.
we could go off on that for a while, but
Well,
yeah, because all that ends up happening, the
it-
authority gets dissolved, only to come back like 2-3 weeks later. They're back before the next pay-per-view.
Yes, yeah, they're back. They're back by the next pay-per-view. I think they even have like a "We're Back" promo or something like that. So like whatever Sting and or Ziggler and or the both of them, and Ziggler like goes on from this show to take mad credit. Like I was the sole survivor. I smashed the authority. I mean, it's like you get buttressed by. You don't get picked up by Sting. Sting does not recognize you. He does not give you any recognition whatsoever. You're just a prop to screw over Triple H with. John, yeah, right. Like there's no at the end of the match.
Zero gains no momentum from this.
No. And then John Cena coming out there again. Look, if the show ends with Dolph Ziggler flanked by Sting on one side and John Cena on the other side, they're both holding up Ziggler's hands and pointing at him. This is a show that builds the Dolph Ziggler character. As it is, him coming, Sting uses him as a prop, and then John Cena comes out at the end when that should be Dolph Ziggler's sign-off moment. And the reason John Cena's out there is when that little WWE card's up there, he's hugging Ziggler. It's not Ziggler's moment in and of its own.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, you should, I'm here to tell the world. Like, you hit the music, the babyface did it.
Like, and we do camera coverage that's appropriate to that, too. I mean, another thing to think about is, like, look at the camera coverage after Ziggler wins, you might say. The way they're showing him as he's leaving and everything.
The camera coverage is all over.
He doesn't feel like the hero. Yeah, right. He's not the hero of the story. He's not the main character.
Yeah.
The camera's telling you very clearly who matters and who doesn't. And who matters is John Cena. Who matters is Stephanie. Stephanie definitely matters. Hunter matters. Yep. And Sting mattered as part of the story, but like who matters really are Triple H and Stephanie. And this is about them. And then even at the end of the show, they get back in the ring. So we can't even have, to this point, Ziggler's exit from the scene. We certainly couldn't have it be the placard, the title card. Hell no. But even when he exits, it's got to be John Cena coming out there and going, "Yeah, I chose you for my team. You won it for my team." Instead of like, "John, you got played by the Big Show again." This is not the first time you got played by the Big Show. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice.
I was surprised at the start of the match. I don't even know who it was. It doesn't matter. One of the commentators comments that John Cena is a 15-time champion. It's like, John Cena still has not broken Ric Flair's record.
Yeah.
Like today.
And that's a choice. It's interesting, and I think it's an interesting choice that he made there. He didn't want to. He could have.
that here we sit a decade later and John Cena still has not done that. And it's like, damn, that is one of the more interesting parts to me.
Right? Because everyone was certain he was going to get up to like 25 title reigns. Like in
He
this
was still
in this
part
Vince,
of the,
because Vince would have just given it to. If John Cena had said, "I want to be champion every 4 months, make it make sense," like I want to stack this bad boy up to like, 25 title reigns.
and he puts on some pretty good title matches going forward. I mean, uh the Royal Rumble in January 15 has a stellar triple threat between Seth Rollins, John Cena, and Brock Lesnar.
That is a good match, and obviously he
One
has
of
that.
the
He has a number of very good matches in the tail end of his career. Notably, I think since Bray Wyatt was on the show, I think his match with Bray Wyatt is, I mean, it is a fascinating cinema movie match sort of thing.
Okay, I was going to say which one are we talking? Are we
I'm
talking?
talking the movie match. Yeah, I'm
Okay,
talking the movie match.
yeah. Firefly Funhouse.
Yeah,
Yes, yeah,
yeah.
I agree that
Yeah,
it tells the story of like 25 years of wrestling in like 14 minutes,
yeah.
while also like teasing alternate realities of heel Cena and the prototype Cena and different things. No, that match is fantastic.
Yeah, it's so cool. It's a really cool, deep, multi-layered like match. Yeah, no, it's not a grapple-y sort of thing, but like there's just like really good writing going on in that one. No,
Yeah,
Cena ends up having a bunch of really good matches. This is not one of them. He is just doing his standard 5 moves of doom here. And
again, this is one of those where I I would not have expected to be talking Survivor Series 2014 in 2024. Like it's an interesting pay per view to go back and look at from a booking standpoint, seeing what McMahon was up to, what decisions he was making with the company, uh, as well as storytelling. The changes that have been made with Triple H and guys like Jeremy Borash coming in have certainly made some huge changes to how they tell the story, how they present the story, that I think is for the better. Um, and yeah, I think that it's an interesting look back on. I mean, still recent history. 10 years ago, you recognize every name on this card. There's nobody on there that's just like, who the hell was that guy?
no, I mean, you might not remember who the Los Matadores were, but like you can look it up. It's not,
Carlito's still wrestling today, and they're his
Carlito's
brother and
kid.
cousin.
They're it's Hunico and
No, it's Carlito's brother and cousin. It's what other gimmicks did they have? I remember when they were like trying to sell timeshares. That was pretty funny.
that was funny. They did try to sell timeshares.
Like, yeah,
But yeah, like I mean,
Primo and Epico.
yeah, Primo and there we go. Thank you.
Yeah,
That's like this is just an era where like most characters just don't have any depth or dimension, and I'm with you. Like watching the more recent stuff, I feel very vindicated in this notion that things have changed very positively, in terms of storytelling across both companies, AEW and WWE. A lot of the characterization going on, even in a show like NXT right now, is interesting. Look, just kind of briefly touch back on the modern stuff here, like the D'Angelo. Probably when I was talking about Dragunov earlier, like, well, that D'Angelo promo was goofy. They threw him in the trunk. Okay, but what they did early on in that promo is they actually heel turned him in the middle of that promo. D'Angelo goes from being a babyface to being a heel at the end of that promo. It's good, and it's super subtle. It's like you basically, you've grown to like him on so many different occasions. They start off talking about how they screwed up Mello last week, and they even got Trick's authority for it, and that they respect Trick Williams. And then Ilya comes in, and D'Angelo has absolutely no compunctions of taking Ilya Dragunov and throwing him in the trunk and going and beating him up and like leaving him in a ditch somewhere at the end of the promo. I mean, that's something that Vince just didn't do. Like that's like a writing move that Vince wouldn't do. Like if someone was turning heel, it was the most obvious thing in the world. Like, and if someone became a baby face, when people became baby faces in Vince's world, it's usually because they were dumbasses and they got beaten up and we feel bad for them. But there's always this subtextual commentary that Vince like kind of hates baby faces. He views them as pussies.
I mean, what's called when Trick Williams and him broke up, when the tag team ended, like it was one of the most like forward moments in wrestling because they didn't have a feud. They didn't break. They were just like, hey, I think I want to try this other thing, and they're just like, I respect that decision.
Well, okay, all right. See, this is where this is just recency bias. I'd like to refer you to a little piece of citation referred to as the Rybaxel breakup, where neither Curtis Axel nor Ryback left that team with anything but the warmy warmths as they pursued greater and greener pastures, and that was nearly a decade ago now.
Yeah, that's right during this era.
That is, it's
for certain.
Yeah, for certain. So I'm just saying, like you did actually have great moments like that.
But again, the lack of, as you said, everyone is so one-dimensional.
Everyone.
Just a flat piece of paper telling the story like this, and there was no depth to the character. There's no breadth to them. Like, which is it's wild how refreshing it is, because we joke that the Nikki AJ Lee Mendes Brooks match was the best they did at long-term storytelling of this entire pay-per-view.
Yeah, but like it also is. It's just you weren't excited about Nikki and Brie or whatever, but at least there was some quality writing going on there.
Yeah. Something happened for longer than a month.
Yeah, you knew there was going to be some narrative discipline, that we weren't just going to randomly turn one of these characters in the middle of this. That things made sense in terms of sequences, that decisions were made that had consequences while they were not immediately obvious to the audience in the moment. With a little bit of hindsight, you can see very clearly that, like, for example, AJ Lee makes a mistake. Makes a mistake in attacking Brie Bella. She thinks that Brie Bella is a free shot, and it actually wasn't, and it cost her. I like that. I think that was good. Like that. That's actually good stuff. Especially compared to what you're getting on here.
Plus, we got some hot lesbian action. Shout out to what the hell's his name?
Joey Styles?
Eric Bischoff. With Brie smooching AJ before with the sneak attack kiss. For the win. Yeah, it's ridiculous. But
I was thinking more, I was thinking of with Joey Styles is just like the night Kimono Wanalea danced on top of the ECW tower and whatever. I forget whatever he says.
The hot lesbian action. Oh, what is it's so stupid. He's feuding with Stephanie when he was GM of Raw and she was GM of SmackDown. I forget what the whole gimmick is, but if she like lost, if it was essentially the Battle of the Billionaires, hair versus hair match, but it was like two dudes. If her guy loses, she has to make out with a chick. God, I love 2000s wrestling.
I mean, and again, this is all going back to the Deus Ex McMahon here. This is all going through Vince. Like the idea that like
Clearing these things.
it's just
Yeah,
clearing these things.
like at the end of the day, we all must remember Vince is a piece of shit.
Yes, like these are ideas written for Vince's approval that he approved.
Yeah, but you're just like, oh yeah, my daughter.
Oh yeah,
Action.
it would be cool.
Ah.
So yeah, now all of a sudden it makes the association between him and Trump make a lot more sense, ever more often. uh any final thoughts on this show here before we wrap up?
I like how inconsequential all of the matches were.
Yeah, I think
Like
the low
the fact that
stakes really helped the show.
uh the women's first of all, okay, we didn't even mention that the women's Survivor Series match, the division is so bereft of talent that it's a 4-on-4.
I forgot. They don't even do a traditional 5. It's just 4. Man, if they had just man, but here's the other thing. If you did an NXT call up, it would completely outclass like most of these teams.
Oh yeah. The four horsewomen in NXT immediately go into the top 5. All 4 of them, even as green as Bayley was at this time,
Oh yeah.
immediately top 5. Because by the time we roll through to SummerSlam in 2015, that's when that's NXT Brooklyn, which is what is it, Sasha Bayley in an absolute barn burner. Like,
And we're getting like at this point multi-dimensional Bailey. I think she'd already had some takeover matches that were of note by 2014. I mean, if they called up Paige and Emma, Bailey, I think, had already had some good matches.
she's getting there for sure at this time, but she was definitely not on the level of Charlotte and Sasha quite yet. Oh, let's go. Just got a score update on the Lobos. Go Lobos.
Go Lobos. But yeah, that's
But yeah,
that. Yeah, it is an interesting show. It's certainly definitely. I mean, like I think going why you picked this initially to look at the Sting presentation. AEW, and we said this on previous episodes, so I don't want to beat the drum on it too much. But AEW, for all my critiques of a lot of what they've been doing here and there, their presentation of Sting was absolutely stellar. From the jump, they knew what they had with this guy. They wanted to make him a big deal on their product, in their mythos, in their branding, and it's such a tale of two cities. Vince clearly wanted Sting to say that he had gotten Sting, that ultimately the one guy who never signed with him finally signed with him, and that's Sting. And when Sting finally signed with him, what did he do with him? A very stupid authority angle where Sting didn't even really save the day. And then a very dumb WrestleMania angle where he's involved in this nostalgic kitsch war between the NWO and DX. And here in AEW, I think in particular, Matt and Nick deserve some roses for adopting these Vince McMahon characters specifically so that they could take an L to Sting, so that Sting could finally deliver the loss to Vince McMahon.
with the mustaches.
Yeah.
I mean, AEW, they to this day they still maintain a special edition of Dynamite, Winter is Coming, which is essentially the Sting thing. Like,
Yeah.
that's when he debuted, was on the first edition of Winter is Coming. It's fantastic. That is something that you can go back and watch and actually enjoy. Would I recommend this pay-per-view? Soft 6.
Nothing worse than the ladies hate a soft 6. Like so I don't even think I could give. I don't even think I can go that far. Dude, I mean, would I recommend this pay per view? No, because even if you're looking for like a trash show from this era, I think there's more entertaining trash shows from this era. But if you want to see Sting debut, I guess you could go and watch that clip. But even then, I think you're gonna be fairly disappointed. I also just want to say, like, looking back on like star ratings from this era, somebody gave the main event a 4-star rating. Larry Sanka here. I'm just like, right? Like, I don't know how you possibly watch that main event and give it 4 stars. That was like at absolute most a 3.5-star main event.
Did okay. The only one that's 4 stars is if you went to the bathroom and somehow missed the Big Show heel turn.
Yeah, right. You would
You
have
take that out, maybe. Again, its work rate is pretty good. They do a good job storytelling. The booking through most of it is really well done.
now. Does anybody explain to you the Big Show heel turn when you return from the bathroom, or like, are you blacked out? Like, is just all that memory like completely dissociated from you?
For a 40 some odd minute match, the pacing is actually pretty solid. But yes, I would have to be, bonked over the head with a 2x4 and have amnesia, but only for that small section of the match.
Right.
To defend that as being
As it's 4. Yeah, no, the heel turn is so objectively bad that you couldn't. It has to be below the 4-star mark just on that alone.
Exactly.
Yeah. So no. Like, my final thought here is I was talking with a friend recently about Brian Danielson, and in particular in this era, Daniel Bryan really is such a special friggin' talent. He's just so uniquely entertaining. His move set is so much deeper than everyone else's 5 moves of doom. He's this beautiful synthesis of like an American style of wrestling. There's European mat wrestling. There's some strong style offense with the yes kicks and that sort of stuff. Some high flying going on.
I believe you mean the it kicks that were created by The Miz.
Yeah, the id kits, legendary id kicks. Yeah. Actually originally invented by Damien Sandow and then taken by the Miz. We're really getting into the mythos here. The mythos, if you will. But yeah, no, and even those yes chants are actually imported from MMA. Like, Daniel Bryan's character is this kind of complete synthesis of all these different genres all together, and in an era where everyone is kind of flat, almost like to Duke the Dumpster Drosy sort of levels, like Repo Man, like 1991 level characterization. Daniel Bryan really, really stands out. Oh, one last note. Roman Reigns stinks on this show, and they have no idea how to get this guy over as a baby face at all.
I forgot about that promo.
Oh,
It was terrible.
you know what's funny is that's actually one of the only things that I remember from this show from the past. Is I remember that they shoehorned in a Roman Reigns promo and it was bad, but I'd forgotten. So like they pre-tape it. They'd asked Roman, here's what they're gonna ask you. You try to respond to it and act normal and be a human. And his shit's like just terrible. Not the least of which is he says he doesn't care who's going to win the main event. And even says in a month, the Authority will be back, or John Cena will be back, or they'll be gone. But you know who'll be back? Roman Reigns.
The big dog.
The big dog. Yeah, and this is when he's still the big dog. I could not. That promo was so bad on so many different levels, right down to the I wish I was in St. Louis or like
So,
what or
yeah,
yeah, like
cheap pop. That was a terrible promo.
very bad. Yeah, that's it. That's it. So anyways, y'all, Survivor Series 2014. It's in the books. It's been reviewed. One more legendary wrestling pay-per-view reviewed by Shake Them Ropes. Desi, thank you for coming on the show today.
No, thank you so much for inviting me. I had a great time. Really enjoyed reflecting upon an interesting era in wrestling.
Do you have any plugs that you would like to like anything that you want to plug or mention, any public thing that you want people to know about?
Um, if you're in the greater Albuquerque area, come out and support Differential Brewing. It's a great spot. We do a lot of cool things, and now coming the warmer months, we have an awesome patio that can certainly be enjoyed.
It's
Uh,
really one of the better patios in town. If especially like in Nob Hill, it's there. It's really it's a good one.
oh yeah,
Yeah, no, it's kind
yeah.
of a no
No,
contest.
outside of
But
that, thank you again. This was a great experience.
yeah, man, I'm thank you for coming on the show. I as I told you the other day when Jeff said I needed to get a second, you were the first person that popped into mind. So
Again, if you ever need anybody to come in and review, as you know, I don't watch the weekly programming. I am up to date on the pay-per-views, but uh, with work, I'm too busy on weekly programming. But I can always go back and rewatch an old
yeah,
pay-per-view
yeah,
and give you an hour plus discussion on it.
absolutely. As for me, if you want to follow the continuing saga of Chris Novembrino, you can find that at Instagram.com/DOCTOR _NOV. That is Dr. Nov, NOV on the Instagram. Apparently there's a doctor now who's an Iranian doctor and TV personality. That's not me. I'm Dr. Nov. Find me on Instagram. Still teaching guitar lessons. Tram is back open. If you want to come out to the tram and experience the tram with me and ride with me on the tram. Other than that, just once again want to give my continuing praise and support and break the kayfabe that Jeff and I keep on this show, usually pretty doggedly, one last time and say that I am thinking of you, buddy. I hope that you enjoyed this episode today and that I did you proud. Talk to you all next week.